Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today in War Thunder it is time to have a look at the unofficial patch notes for the first dev server for updates 1.93. Now these were put together by Father Gentlespie, so as usual thank you to Father Gentlespie for putting this all together. It is an amazing thing that he's able to do for us, giving us more information than what is shown on the dev server, diving into the files and being able to bring us some information that normally would be lost to, the files overall. So thank you for your great work, and hopefully all you guys can appreciate it as well by either thanking him on Discord or even on War Thunder Live, where he's actually just sorted out a new model, the Lightning. He's been able to bring it back from the dead and fix all of the issues that it had, so doing even more community stuff. Anyway, thank you, and let's get started. Some armor classes were added to the game. Glass 22, Glass 44, some Alum Alloy 20, Composite 16, and ABT 102. I'm pretty sure that the majority of these are for helicopters. The composite could be for the new ZTZ, but everything else I've definitely seen on the Mi-28 and the Ka-50, and also on the A129. So that's most of those just seem to be just for helicopters, nothing crazy there, not a massive amount of armor for any of them. The explosive, so the S13DF explosive type added, it has ×3 of the TNT strength. This I think is in the rockets for the Soviets. The Mi-28 and the Ka-50 had access to some really good AT-GEMs and also air-to-airs, but there were these rockets which were absolutely huge, these S13 things, and they look like they're just going to nuke anything that they touch. The only question is, it's going to be hard to touch things because they're rockets, but they had a big oomph to them, which I think is what is being described here. The FMs, so these are flight models in general, they removed a singular piece of code, so I can't really find the differences easily. So they removed was interceptor type equals 0. Now, at least from my point of view, I'm guessing that would just mean that no, it's basically a line of code saying, is this an interceptor or not? Because we do have the interceptor tag for planes in the game, and since it was removed, maybe they're either getting rid of the interceptor role, so everything will have to, start from the ground when it comes to stuff like the Do 335 and the Chinese P-47 and then other stuff like that, or, maybe they're just changing them into attackers, who knows? Could be, we'll have to see on the second dev server if it comes around. New planes, so a lot of these I was able to have a look at on the dev server, but some weren't present, but they are present in the files. Now luckily I have the asset viewer of the updates 1.93, so we can have a look at them in that and kind of see what's going on. So obviously the A129, that is the Italian helicopter. The BR-20M is a new Italian bomber. A lot of these I did videos on, so you can go and have a look. The BR-693 is the new French light attacker at 1.7. The F-100D France, of course. The Hunter F9, and then the Hunter F9 Rhodesia. So the Hunter F9 Rhodesia was the premium Hunter that you saw when we had a look on the dev server. The F9 is slightly different, but first of all, this is the M60A3 TTS. I just wanted the Chinese M60. I just wanted to show you it because it seems like it has ERA all over it. I don't know whether it's going to come to the game to have this ERA on it, or if it's just something that's kind of sat there in the files. But yes, the Chinese M60A3 is covered in ERA, which is really nice. Now let's go on to the Hunters, as we were talking about before. So you can see here, we have the Hunter F1, which we have in the game, the Hunter F6, which we also have, and here is the F9. So the F9, at least from my looks, seems to be a complete copy, or a very close copy, of the F6. You can see that there are slight differences between them, and the differences seem to be like in this area here. if you just have a look at the back, you can see there's like an extra add-on bit here. My guess is this is for like some form of parachute maybe, or maybe it's just for a slightly different engine. I'm not really sure the difference between the F6 and the F9, but for me, the main thing is that this also has access to SRAMs. So it also has access to, of course, the Aiden cannons as well, just like the F6 does. You can see there, but you can see how the F6 has access to the SRAM. So does the F9. So I'm wondering if we're going to get a standard tech tree F9 along with the Rhodesian F9, which is the one which we saw on the dev server. Now, also another thing as well, you can see the F9 Rhodesia right here, and then you have the standard F9 that you can see here as well. So it is two different planes technically, even though they may be using the same model. Now, also it has a fully done up cockpit for the F9. So you can see right here, it's all HDified, showing that it's ready for the game. So are we going to get the F9 with SRAMs? That's what it seems like when I look at this, right? I don't also see any bombs which are attached to it, only some rockets and some SRAMs. So I'm just wondering, are we going to get a premium one and a standard tech tree one? That would be the first time I think I can think about when we have like a premium something added and then a standard tech tree one at the same time. They'll probably be slightly different. It seems like they're different when it comes to their secondary weaponry, but still, it's nice to see. Obviously, we have the KA-50 and the Mi-28N as well. The KA-50 having night vision was kind of odd to see, but everything else seems, kind of normal when it comes to those planes. Then you have the Pioremerski, which I will never be able to say or spell. So I'm just going to type in the PO, because thank God, it's easy to do. Now it looks like we have a new folder as well on the dev clients, which is Sweden aircraft. So it's going to be easy to find these things. Here's the Pioremerski. God damn it. You can see it looks pretty standard. The skin itself, it does look very finished, but it also looks incredibly bland. It might be worth adding a little bit of shading to it or something, but yeah. So one 20mm MG151 in the center. It has two 12.7s on top of it, and then it has the DB605A engine, which is the same one you find on the BF-109Gs. Everything else is built in Finland and, was created for it because it was supposed to be a plane designed for native construction. It also has slightly different wheels. They actually go inward compared to the BF-109. So the way I would compare this is I would say this is very similar to the BF-109 in flight characteristics, but imagine if you took a BF-109 and you attached Focke-Wulf 190 wheels to it. That's pretty much what this plane is. The next one is, of course, the Saab J29D. That is the other Swedish aircraft that is coming to the game in update 1.93. Remember that it isn't coming along with the Swedish aviation tech tree yet. The Sweden aviation tech tree will be added in update 1.95, which will be around the December update or the Christmas update, and then later on, there will be updates for the ground vehicles and also the naval and the helicopters and all of that stuff. So here's the Saab. As you can see, I don't think it has a full cockpit yet. These weren't on the dev server, they were just in the files. Yeah, you can see the cockpit looks very standard definition, but look at this interesting sight. There's a lot to it, at least in this model. Hopefully this will be available on the second dev server. It's always nice to see the thing. You can see all the different hard points that it has over here, and hopefully stuff that can attach to it. 4 Aidens as well, and the real key to this plane is going to be its acceleration, because once you fire those guns, you're going to lose a lot of acceleration, and also those guns are not, they are not light, and there's a lot of girth to this machine. I'm wondering how it's going to handle with its engine. It's looking interesting though, and of course it is available for pre-order now. Then you have a new kind of sensor added, which is the TV tracker. Now, if you've watched my Mi-28N video, I'm pretty sure what this is referring to is on the hood when you've targeted a vehicle on the ground in a helicopter. You can basically press F on your keyboard, and it will put a green square around that target, and it will lock onto it as long as you keep, in a specific area. Then you can go to your hood in your helicopter in, kind of first-person view in your cockpit, and it will appear on your hood as a red square. Now, a lot of people believe this type of tracker or type of thing is only there on the KA-50 or the Mi-28s. No, these ideas should be coming to all of the top-tier helicopters in the game, including stuff like the Eurocopter and the H-1Z. So this isn't just going to be something that's just for the Soviets, it is going to be there for everyone else as well. The new ships that are available, the German destroyers, of course, we had a look at. Didn't do full reviews on them because they weren't that different to the rest of the destroyers, but you got a 1934A there, the 1944, and then the 1936B. Then you've got a Japanese cruiser, the Sendai. Now, the Sendai is a very odd pick, and I actually talked to John McCarthy, John McCarthy is a moderator on the Tech Hub, and he is very much into stuff such as the naval side of things. That's what he really enjoys, just like Red Andreas as well on the Tech Hub moderation team. And it's always interesting talking to him about, ships, and for him, what he sees is with the Megami, which was added, last update, the big heavy cruiser. For him, that the way that he sees it is with the addition of something like the Sendai, the Megami will go up to rank 5, because of course they've introduced rank 5, rank 5 to naval, and something like this will slot into the light cruiser lines alongside everything else, because the guns on this are not that big. They're not huge, and to be honest, when you have a look at everything else that it has, there ain't a lot going on for it. There's basically just small guns and then a few AA guns around the place. There doesn't seem to be a lot here when we talk about, actual usefulness. You have some, sorry about that. So you have a launcher back here. You have 2 main guns right here, then a central main gun. On top of this, you've got some torpedo tubes, but only 2 of them. And then you have 4 extra here, so 8 overall. You've got what look like 25 millimeters, and then a bunch of larger guns as well. So yeah, it's just if we compare it to, let's say, the Pepsi-Cola, or the HMS Belfast, or the Helena, or something like that, the other machines that are coming in, it looks kind of odd that this is coming in, unless you see it as this is going to be, one of those ones which fills out the light cruiser role for the Japanese as those heavy cruisers get moved up to, rank 5. I'm pretty sure that the Japanese now have like 3 heavy cruisers, and I can't remember if they have 3 or not, but also there is a bit of an issue, as you can see, with the center part of the Sendai. It doesn't seem to have been finished yet, and that would be obviously the bridge area and stuff like that. It is definitely missing some stuff when it comes to, at least on the dev server, but I'm guessing we'll see it when it comes, when it comes later on. So all of you Japanese guys, I know I've been reading a lot of your comments. I've been, a lot of people have been asking me, are Japan getting anything because they haven't seen anything yet? Well, it seems like there's at least a light cruiser on the horizon for the Japanese. It's just not fully done yet, and I'm guessing it will be fully done by the time the update comes out. The next set of ships, we of course have the Belfast, which we had a look at, and now the Hawkins. Now the Hawkins is a Hawkins class heavy cruiser. I have no idea why they picked the Hawkins, but the Hawkins is in a much better much better setup or much better shape than the Sendai is. You can see it has the main guns on the front of it. This is pretty much fully modeled, at least from what I can see. Has the two main front guns on it. Then you have, of course, some quad 2-pounders, just to really ruin the day of aircraft. Has some 5 inches and some other guns. I'm just going to check something real quick about the Hawkins class, because I don't want to, screw up and say something wrong about it. So the armament is 7.5 incher, 191 millimeter guns, and also some 12-pounders as well. So yeah, these main guns are 191 millimeter guns, but there aren't a ton of them. You got one on the back here, one on the booty. You got one which is near it as well, and then you have another which is sat here, and then 2 on the side here, and 2 on the front. So overall, you're looking at what, 2, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Does that fit? Well, yes. So 7 191 millimeters. But what is nice is that they do seem to have quite a lot of AA around the place. You can see that there's just a bunch of 20 millimeters just kind of dotted around the vehicle, and also the secondary guns here, which should at least pack a little bit of a punch. So AA components are looking nice. You can see it's not fully modeled yet. Once again, the bridge is missing. So unfortunate for it, and even if you look here, you can see the bridge is there on the X-ray, just not fully done up. So you can see the massive ammo storage that this has, huge engine area as well, and look how much ammunition is sat here. It also has access to torpedoes, which is nice. It's always nice to have a little bit extra when it comes to different weaponry, and hopefully we do see the Hawkins in this update as well. It was actually seen on the dev or the testing, the testing video that Gaijin did as well. So it was there, and that to me would indicate it's coming in, alongside stuff like the other heavy cruisers that they've talked about, and the fact that they're making the big push for this update, the introduction of Sweden, also a bunch of other top tier vehicles, and rank 5 of Naval. This would fit perfectly in the in the tech tree for the British as a rank 5. I still believe they should have added the county class instead of the Hawkins, but you know what? It is a step in the correct direction. I was talking to somebody actually earlier today or yesterday. The times are kind of blending into one right now. But I was talking to somebody, and the way they said it is, the obvious choice is the county class, but because, that's the obvious choice, maybe we should see it as getting the Hawkins is kind of like an added bonus on top of what we know we're already going to get. And I suppose if you look at it like that, it's a very positive way of looking at it. And from that point of view, you can be happy about this machine. And I am happy to see it. I just wish that it was a county class. But I'm sure in the future, it will be. The next ones to look at as well, we have, of course, the Helena, which we talked about. It's just a better version of the Brooklyn as a premium. I inherently disagree with the ideas that it's actually, I inherently disagree with the idea of selling a better version of a vehicle as a premium, especially a meta vehicle in the form of the Brooklyn. The next one, it seems like every tank model has the radio station modeled in the damage model now, so radio station 01DM. So I'm guessing maybe if you take out the radio station, it might have an effect on your map skills, where, when you shoot another tank on the map or you scout another tank on the map, it doesn't appear on the map. Oh, sorry, it does appear on the map, as long as your map awareness skills are high enough. Maybe if your radio is damaged, that won't happen. That would be kind of cool. We also have some new tanks. So, of course, the Chinese ZTZ-96, which we had a look at, the AMD-35, the new 1.0 French armored car, the MX-30 Arca. A lot of people have talked about the HE shell on the Arca, and I've been talking to, talking to a bunch of people about it. It seems like it's some form of rocket-propelled HE, which, is unguided, which seems kind of insane, but really fun. Then, of course, you've got the BMP-1 DDR. I didn't really, have a look at this thing, because it's just a BMP-1. It even has the BMP-1P upgrade, so there's no difference between it apart from the lineup you're going to build around it. Then there's a Japanese truck, which doesn't have any weapons on it, so it's probably a target to shoot at. if you go to Air Realistic and you go on a map like Zhengzhou or any of those ones which are more designed for lower tier. Zhengzhou is pretty much designed for every tier, but there are a few lower tier maps for especially Japan, and now that China's been released and the main competitor to China is Japan, so you're getting a lot of Chinese, Soviet, Japanese matches. They may have decided to improve some of the models which are there in Air Realistic, because I'll show you this truck and there's no way, well, I mean, it might be the basis for something, you know, maybe, but I really highly doubt it. Let's just go here. There we go. So you got the Type 94, which is of course the truck in rank 1 for the Japanese. This is already in the game. But then you've got this Type 94 Isuzu, which is this little boy. So you can see it's a pretty nice model. You have pretty much everything sorted for it. It has its own X-ray. And of course you have this lad just chilling. You got the engine, you got the radiator, I think, and then of course the transmission. That's all that's part of it. And there's no guns on it or anything like that. So it's just a truck. So my idea is it's going to replace the trucks which are either on specific maps in Air Realistic or Ground Realistic, because you can see that this is a high step up above some of the like AA and armored vehicles that are on maps in Air Realistic, so that would be kind of nice. The next one is of course the Centurion Action X. We had a look at that, and the Vickers Mark 7, the M1A2 Abrams, and the BMP-3. All really, really interesting vehicles. They added a bunch of bombs. I believe SWD means Sweden, basically. So they added a bunch of Sweetie Boy bombs, and obviously I can't have a look on the asset viewer at them, but I'm pretty sure that's what they are. They also had some new weaponry for tanks, the 100mm 2A70. This is the new gun on the BMP-3, 125 Type 88. This is the gun on the ZTZ-96, the 12.7 88, not exactly sure what that is. That might be the gun on the Finnish boy. The 142mm Accra, of course the French gun. Oh, this is for tanks, so it's not that. So this is just a new 12.7. 30mm 2A72, that's also on the BMP-3. And a 7.62 Type 86, I'm guessing it's Chinese. So the new weaponry as well. You got 127mm. The 190, I believe, is the Hawkins class gun. So, you know, that's obviously a new gun. It is technically 191mm, not 190. But you know what? It's a decimal point difference, so it's okay. The other one, so I should actually just have a look just to make sure the Sendai, like what size guns that it has, because I was having a look at it the other day, but obviously should make sure it has 140mm guns on it, so therefore that's probably what we're going to see. If I remember correctly though, the Sendai class cruiser had a bunch of different versions of it depending on which one that they pick. If they pick the normal Sendai, which was of course the leader of the class, then it should have a bunch of different guns on it, as it does, you know, in the form of 25mm and stuff, but you can see it's got 7 140mm guns. So yeah, that's what we're looking at right now with the Sendai. The next bits, I should flip it for this, there you go. Sorry for hurting your eyes, it absolutely kills my eyes as well. You can see here that there are plenty of changes to the way the HOT ATGW3, SS11, 9M114, 9M120. There's also a 9M120M now, by the way. The 9M127, well, all ATGMs do damage. Now they do it in fragments or something like that. So there is some form of code that is put in which gives ATGMs a damage output in the form of shattering. So my guess is once they pierce a vehicle, they then have a specific shatter coefficient if they're able to shatter, and what that means is it will give you a radius of how far they shatter. So you know when you shoot like into a tank with like a HE, or maybe you hit a cupola or something, and then you have like the splash of the round which goes around the vehicle. That's, at least to me, the way I'm reading this, that's what this sounds like. I might be completely wrong though. It might be something to do with, if it doesn't penetrate, the splash that it makes like on a vehicle, so it destroys the array and stuff. Maybe it's just to make that a bit more defined, but it could be that, it could be something else. They've also added some new missiles, so the Su-13DFs, Su-9s, these are all on, of course, the Soviets. Then some Swedish 145mm and 180mm rockets. They are going to be fun to use. All of these are just the new Swedish rockets that are going to come on. Or basically all of the bombs and the rockets that you see, which have SWD next to them, those are the certain loadouts that are going to go to the Swedish, and mainly to the J-29. Because the other one, the Finnish one, I don't think has any secondary armaments. Then we have some new Mighty Mouse rockets, so it's going to be interesting to see what's going on there. And Gentlespie says, I don't really want to believe this, but the A&M2's got a buff to their hit power over distance, previously being 0.79 at 300, 0.56 at 700, and 0.32 at 1500. Now it is 0.85 at 1000, 0.75 at 1500, and 0.3 at 2000. Same's changed to the M3s, Mark 12 Colts, HO5s, all MG151s, MK103s, and the M129 grenade launcher. Wait, so they've made the American cannons, the 20mm, much better than they are. The Mark 12 Colts, which are the guns that you find on some American jets, and I'm sure some others, they've got a buff. The Ho-5s, which are the Japanese cannons, they're getting a buff. MG151s are getting a buff as well, and the MK103s. And it's not just a small buff, we're talking about quite a large one here, meaning that, you know, it's going from about, you know, maybe around 0.4 damage to 0.75. If we were going to make a calculation, it's probably about 1.5 or 2 times the amount of power that they had before at range. That's crazy. Absolutely insane. It would be really interesting to see how that works. There's also some new aircraft weaponry, the Canonican M55, the Gun LKK-42, and the Gun Mac 34T turret. I'm not exactly sure what any of those are for. And of course the new map, which is South Africa. We know that that's coming now, since we had a dev blog about it. It would have been lovely to see more pictures of that. I really like those views that they used to do, with where you could look around the map in a 360 degree kind of way. Unfortunately, the South African map didn't have a lot of them. And on the American desert map, the temperature has been increased for thermals from -750 to 300. So it should be easier to detect things on the American desert map, you know, according to this, because they should be further, the colors should be further away from each other. Oh, well, I shouldn't say colors, but the contrast should be more defined, is the better way to put it. Or less defined. I'm not exactly sure. I suppose we'll just find out when the update comes out. But as I said, I'll be very surprised if we don't get a second dev server. It felt like there were a bunch of stuff that wasn't fully finished on the first dev server, such as, you know, there was no access to Swedish vehicles. We have some forms of these cruisers which are just not in, even though they're sat in the files. They're obviously not finished because, as you know, as looked at, their bridges and stuff aren't finished. And then there's an extra hunter as well, just kind of sat there. I really hope this doesn't become a gift vehicle or something like that. I really hope this is just added in as is, so then I can stop complaining about the Rhodesian F9, which is the FGA-9, which, you know, you see in the game right now that I did a video on. Anyway, those are the extra unofficial notes for the first dev server. Thank you once again to Father Gentlespie for putting them together, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Joseph Anders, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Uyins Terry, Elove Goat, and seductive trash can for supporting the channel.